All right, there you go.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody out there in Facebook land, all you Facers and YouTube world, and everybody else that's watching. This is a highly anticipated. Tonight we will be discussing strictly the street stock / pure stock division here in, I guess it would be the Northeast. Of course, Accord, Bethel, Orange County Fair Speedway. We've got a round table, and it's. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen. Our division, it's a part of the division that I'm in. Gary, you've run street stocks or pure stocks for many years as well.
Yep.
So without further ado, as I introduce them, we're gonna pop them on. But we have the who's who of street stock racing here. Full 3 tracks, and let's get going. Let's get started. Let's do this. So he is. Does it matter?
No, go ahead. No matter.
So he is the creator of the Street Stock Help Source multi-feature winner from the Accord Speedway, and of course, Street Stock Help Source has gained national attention with Speedway Magazine, and I think amongst some of the other stuff. But throughout the country, I want to say it's over 30,000 followers, maybe more. But anyway, I believe he's second-generation driver, Mr. Jay Smalley.
How's it going, guys?
What's happening, Jay?
What's up, Jay?
Also joining us this evening, he is a former track champion from the Accord Speedway, also a former track champion from the Orange County Fair Speedway, multi-feature winner. Pretty much wherever he goes, he is always on his game. That is, I like to call him the instigator, but he is the intimidator, Mr. Ray Tarantino. What's happening, Ray?
Not too much. What's going on, guys?
Same
What's
old.
up?
Also joining us, he is a 4-time track champion from the Orange County Fair Speedway. He is second on the all-time win list, and he may have more time in a race car than any of us do in a bathroom. And, of course, we like to call him Pop, Mr. Old Man Dirt, Mr. Emerson Cargain Sr. How are you doing, Pop?
I'm good.
And last but not least, you all know him as Tony Gearhead, Tony Garaguso. He is the owner-operator of TJ Motorsports, and he helps guys like myself, Johnny Heckinger, and pretty much anybody else in the street stock division throughout the Northeast. And we are going to do the best we can to try and keep him tame. But anyway, my good buddy, Mr. Anthony Garaguso. The Northeast.
Yeah, I got one without headphones.
All right, so I'm going to say Tony's the one with no headphones, right? And he's frozen. Right, so just like when you call into a radio station, I'm going to need you to turn your volume down.
Down, yeah. Turn the
This guy
volume
can
on the phone
pretty
down.
much fix anything.
What's up, gentlemen?
Except the computer.
Just turn the volume down on the phone. It'll eliminate the echo.
All right.
I don't have any headphones.
No headphones.
Yeah, that's
And he's frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, turn the volume down on your phone.
Listen, get one of your granddaughters to show you how to use this thing. Just like when you call a radio station, I'm going to need you to turn your volume. I can pretty much fix anything except
Yeah, it's just kicking back everything you said.
Turn the volume down on the phone.
My phone is all the way turned down.
Okay. So I
Can
don't.
you guys hear me at all?
We can, and you're frozen. You got about 30 seconds to get your stuff together, or we're gonna kick you out.
Listen, I'm really not good at this technology. It's not a carburetor.
Yep.
All right. Can you hear us? You can hear us though.
He keeps muting and unmuting.
Yeah.
All right, well.
All right. Well, we'll do the best we can with Tony, and if it doesn't start working, then Gary, I guess we'll boot him.
All right.
So, All right, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started. And listen, before we even start with this, Jay, listen, man, I got to applaud you. You started a conversation that has needed to happen. I'm going to say probably 5 years ago.
I agree.
Our division is in trouble. We're on life support, and I think Larry just piped in. Tony's going to be DQ'd. And you know they're I'm going to say the three of us, including Gary and myself, we've all been involved with this division for 20 plus years. I think all of us. I don't have the answers. I don't think any of us really do. But what do you think is the decline in street stocks? What do you think's the problem?
You know, I think there's a bunch of contributing factors. You know, some guys will say that you know the parts aren't there, the cars aren't there. You know, some guys will say that some of the tech hasn't been there at some of the tracks, and that's chasing people away. You know, there's some fast cars here or there that seem to be winning the majority of the races. It makes it tough for, you know, your average competitor to compete and feel good about competing and, you know, think that he's going to have a chance out there. There's just a bunch of stuff. And I think that there is a path to try to get, you know, a good car count at each track. I don't think that there's going to be one set of cookie cutter rules that's going to work everywhere. I think that there's some adaptation at you know at least two of the tracks that we could get to, you know, somewhat of a happy place. I think that you know there's a pathway. I don't think that we're to the point where we have to worry about the class disappearing. I know that I've talked to Gary Palmer, and he said he loves the class. He'd love to see the class continue. He doesn't want to see it go the route of the pro stocks. But there is, you know, in terms of us drivers, we need to be very careful about the decisions we make and think of the overall health of the class and think about our fellow competitors. Be understanding that not everybody can afford everything that everybody might want to do in the future, and it just needs to be handled very delicately.
Okay, Ray, same question to you. What do you think has been the because you, like myself, you're running every once in a while now, and you're running all over the place, and I've kind of done the same thing. What your thoughts on why the division is starting to decline?
I just think it's a difference of having to buy different tires for everywhere we go. You know, rules package. We were talking about going to Albany, Saratoga this week, but you know, Malta Speedway. It's just we have to change our car too much to be legal up there. Mm-hmm. You know, I can go to Bethel, be legal. I can go to Orange County, be legal, which we've already been checked through tech and all that. And it's just a rules package. That's, you know, the big thing. And the money of buying tires.
Yeah. Pop, I mean, we just got done talking a little while ago, and you know, I kind of know your thoughts on this, but you know, for everybody else, you know, just for the show purposes, what do you think has been the decline in the division? I remember the days of 60 plus cars at Orange County, and the inside row would go. That was feature one, and the outside row would go. That was feature two. What do you think has been the issue?
Back then, we had three classes.
Yeah.
You know, and each one was 20-some cars in each class. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the biggest thing right now is, you know, a lot of our cars got junked when they had the shortage of metal. I mean, there is a shortage of Camaros and Monte Carlos.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the kids today, they don't know what our cars are. They're into their four cylinders. And you go to any of your tracks now, and your four-cylinder class is 20, 25, 30 cars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, it's affordable racing. It's what we used to be.
They're staying within their budget.
You know, it's
what
we
did.
Used to be.
I did. Ray stayed within his budget. Jay did. I mean, that's probably the reason why we didn't jump up to the next class.
I did it and came back.
Yeah. Same.
I left for 10 years because they did the things that they did when Canizaro brought in the wide car and the new bodies, and it was out of my budget.
Yeah.
I didn't come back until 2001 when they went back to pure stocks.
Yeah. I mean, I jumped up to pro stocks for a couple of seasons, and I came back after about 3 seasons, and it took me 4 years to get a win because I almost went broke.
Yeah, I remember that night.
Yeah. It was it's yeah, and I don't want to see the division go away.
But do
on the
you
other-
think that the cost, though? I mean, the guys jumping. I mean, a lot of kids just jumping right to the sportsman because of the cost of what it's costing to. I mean, I've been looking online for cars because thinking about jumping back in, but I just can't see spending $10,000 on a street stock.
That's scary, isn't it?
But that's the going price, it seems.
But the thing is, Gary, you got to remember too. You got to be so careful because a lot of cars that they're advertising as street stocks
are not
Jack and
No,
Bolt.
yeah, right.
They're not street stock. They're
Right.
northern street stock.
So
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. If I have absolutely nothing and I don't know anybody, you're going to spend $15,000 to go racing in a street stock if you've never done this before. That's safety, everything. That's everything. You guys agree with that?
I mean, my son built one for $13,500.
Yep.
Everything.
If you have to build one from scratch, you're going to be spending an easy 10 grand.
Okay.
No question.
So
Definitely.
with that, my point being is we're not, my opinion, we're not a prestigious class at certain tracks. We're not the class that everybody wants to be in. You get a lot of recognition with the open wheel cars. Let's face it, we are in modified country. We're in sportsman country. So if I'm going to spend that kind of money, why not spend it in a sportsman where everybody is you're getting almost that instant glory, that
Okay,
instant notoriety. Do you guys agree with that?
I don't know. In terms of myself, and I think guys like Ray and guys like Bob Slate and those types of guys, we race these cars because we like these cars. We just love full fendered cars. I have never had any ambition to move up into an open wheel car, nor could I afford it. And it's these types of cars just, they also suit certain people's driving styles, like Ray, for example. Ray Tarantino driving a 4-cylinder was like sacrilegious to me. I couldn't believe
He looked good on Saturday night.
he was wild. He was still, sliding the thing through the corners and stuff like that. But it's like some people just belong in a full fendered, heavier car that just suits their driving style.
Yep.
And it's just that's what us guys, I guess you could call us older guys or whatever, that have been around for a while. That's what we like. And that's why to me, that's why I'm having this conversation, because I really would like to see the class continue. I'd like to see it survive. And, without talking about it, it's not going to happen. Without putting our heads together, it's not going to happen.
You hit on something, Jay, and you said cookie cutter. And that's what I like about the division. We are not a cookie cutter division. We're taking something that's 30, 40 years old, and we're doing stuff that we're not supposed to be doing. And we're doing it with these cars. And it's the ingenuity that's winning races. It's the guys that are doing their homework.
Correct. It's the work ethic has to be there. If you want to race, you're going to have to work your ass off.
So look at your screen, okay? So you're looking at Emerson. Emerson started racing. He passed his knowledge down to Emerson Jr. Emerson Jr., and then he also passed his knowledge over to myself. I mean, he did that for me. And then you've got Ray. Ray's passing his knowledge on to his son. Then you've got you with the Street Stock Help Source. And that's how this class has survived, and that's how it should continue to survive. But I don't see where the appeal is with the younger generation, and how do we fix that?
Well, I know that I personally try to, bring as many people into the sport as I can. I think that, the more that people do that and the more you introduce today's youth into what we do is a positive thing. And not just the youth. I mean, anybody. And anybody that you can bring to the races and introduce to the sport, anybody that you can welcome into your garage and show them what we do and how we do these things is a very positive thing for the sport.
Yeah, now to bring in youth in, like I'm just going to take my own personal experience. Now you starting these kids off in these slingshots. These slingshots look like our sportsman cars, you know, kind of like my son. I had my sportsman. He wasn't interested in anything but the slingshot, you know, going from the slingshot, that because it's such a close resemblance. So the kid's moving up and like, I want to be like dad. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to start them in a slingshot, or do you start them in a 4-cylinder for say if they're a 14, you know, in a full fender car? I mean, to get away from that, I don't know. Because it seems like the slingshot kids jump right to the sportsman. I mean, there's no in between. They're going right to it. You know what I mean?
Explain Jaden Slate. You know,
Yeah,
what did
Yeah.
Jaden race? Jaden, I think he was running the slingshot, and he picked up 2 feature wins at Accord this year, and he finished second in points.
Yeah, right.
And that's a, his bloodline. He's in a great racing family. The atmosphere is there for him to be able to do it, but he still did it. He's still a young kid. He's got a lot of racing ahead of him. Who knows what his future is going to bring? But what a great example for these young kids that this kid. I know my teenage daughter was in awe of him. You know, she's about the same age, and she's like, oh, look at this young guy. He's kicking your butts. You know, and it's awesome. You know, that's what needs to happen.
Now let's talk about, you know, some of there's certain rules at each track that you have to change in order to be able to run different tracks. I'm trying to, how do I go about saying this without, I don't want to, we're not here to argue, we're here to try and fix this. So if Bethel runs aluminum pulleys, me personally, I don't care what you got on the front of the motor. I think an aluminum pulley is just easier to get. But in order for me to go to Middletown, if I'm a regular at Bethel, I have to run a steel water pump, steel crank pulley, and then I can run aluminum outside that. What is the purpose of that? I find that the tracks cater to the guys that have supported them for years, but it's to me, that's a stupid rule. You know what I mean? So how do we fix that? How do we move forward? Because it's, you know, when me personally, I think that's a stupid rule, but the guys who run there don't feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Bethel and Accord, you can run any offset rim with a spacer. You go to Middletown, you can't do that. So how do we go about fixing that? And what is the reason behind that? And Emerson, you've stepped away from driving, and now you're the guy. You're the tech guy. How do we make it easier for a guy who runs Friday night at Accord and is allowed lowering blocks and all this other stuff on his Camaro? How do we make it easier for him to run Middletown without having to change that stuff?
That's tough, Joel, because I hate to say it, but, you know, lowering blocks make the car handle it. Accord. You don't need it at Orange County. And I mean, I think that's the main thing. I mean, Accord, yes, you need the pulleys, the aluminum pulleys. Maybe at Accord at Bethel too, because of the on-off, right? You don't need it at Orange County, so they simple. And you know, you got 3 different style tracks. You're going to have different rules because that's how you make the cars competitive. You know, you take the car that's set up for Orange County without changing it and go to Accord, you're out to lunch.
Yeah, 100%. And this and Jay, you were there early on with the shootout series, and this is what we were trying to accomplish. We were trying to get the 3 tracks together and just make a simple rules package so that all you're changing is setup, and you're not having to change a million things. Ray, you know as well as I do, you can have a regular spring in the rear of a Monte Carlo, but when you go to Middletown, it has to be a pigtail spring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is what my thing is to me, I don't understand the rule. I don't.
I don't understand that either. I mean, I can vouch for what you're discussing with the aluminum pulleys. because I sat on the line one night, brand new steel pulleys, and the bottom lower pulley broke right off the motor.
But you
I mean,
can the same thing can happen
know,
with an aluminum pulley too.
Yeah,
you know what I
but
mean?
it's more unlikely because the aluminum is a little thicker and they're actually heavier. You know, and the other thing with the aluminum pulley is we can't run a double bypass radiator. You know, so trying to keep the cars cool, if we can run aluminum, we can slow the water pump down by running different size pulleys that way. You know, it's just a safety feature, I think. I mean, trying to find brand new pulleys without spending a lot of money, you're going to the salvage yard, you know, like you guys said, we're working with 30, 40-year-old cars.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And
No.
most of the thing is now you look at a lot of the salvage yards and they've crushed a lot of those old cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know,
So my thought is the stuff needs to be accessible, and I'm not saying accessible as in come see Tony Gearhead because he has 12 of these carburetors sitting on the bench. I'm saying, listen, if you go to ECS and you purchase this carburetor, for example, you're going to be good to go. Your thoughts on that? Now, listen, I don't want to see this class turn into the pro stocks. I don't want to see that. That's not. I don't want to see that at all. But we have to make things. The stuff has to be accessible. How do we do that?
I mean, if you're talking about the carburetors, I mean, I've gone out to Jay, which Jay knows I bought one of his carburetors from him before because I needed a carburetor. They are getting harder to find, but instead of going to a 4412, why don't we just go to a Speedway carburetor that's in the book, which is accessible for everybody to buy, and you know, just
Now, is that like a 500? Pop, we were talking about this before. That's that 500.
Yep.
Okay. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the 500 is a great carburetor. My personal experience with it, I ran it one time. When I went down to Penn Can last year, they were running 4412s. I ran the 500 Rochester, and I did fairly well. I started last in the heat race. I ended up second, and I was running third in the feature before my car broke with 2 laps to go. There was 2 guys that were long gone. I wasn't going to catch them, but everybody that was behind me wasn't catching me.
Those are Mongoloid late models anywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was you know, my car was handling good and I had just enough, you know.
Yeah, and that's
again in comparison, it's not far off from the 4412, and it's easily accessible. You can go right to Speedway and buy it. It's fairly inexpensive, and from some of those polls that we did, it seemed like a lot of guys were willing to have a conversation about the carburetors. I'm not sure that, you know, in talking to Emerson a little bit, we PM'd each other a little bit, and you know, he makes a lot of sense when he says that the tracks have different rules for different reasons. Guys are going pretty fast at Middletown.
Yeah.
And a lot of these cars, you know, the older cars and stuff like that, some of these chassis have been sitting around for a long time. How fast do we really want them to go? You know,
I mean, you add that other carburetor and you're in trouble.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
the 4412 you're saying, Pop?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, we're doing probably close to 105 down the backstretch.
Right.
We're averaging 86, 87 miles an hour. I mean, you give them that little bit more, and they're going to be topping 110, 115. Now, you got to remember, some of those cars aren't brand new.
Yeah.
All right, and you know, they get a throttle stick or something, and you're gonna get somebody hurt. And I mean, nothing for nothing. I mean, knock on wood, I made it and never got hurt. And Ray, I think you've done very well, and Joel and Jay. I mean, we always built safe equipment.
Yeah.
But
listen, I have to go to work on Monday, and I have a lot of kids that depend on me getting out of a car. Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree. Yep.
You know, and I mean, some of these new guys, they buy an older car, and you know, then it's up to the tech guy to say, "Oh, you got to fix this."
Yeah.
You know, but another story.
How do now? You guys would know better than me. It's obvious. I'm no mechanic. This is why I have Tony. Listen, I flip the switch and hit the button, and the thing don't start. I look around. First thing I want to know is, does it have gas? After that, I've lost. I have no idea. How would the 500 compare to the carburetor that we're running now? How would that compare? Would they be pretty close? Would the guy with the 500 have a little more advantage? How do you think that would compare?
It's quite an advantage.
Yeah.
It's 350 CFMs versus 500 CFMs. You can feel it right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's a world of difference.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a little story. I mean, back in 1983, I was running my Nova, and I have a carburetor trouble, and I was working up at the junkyard, my side job, and I went up on the hill, and I started looking, and I found a carburetor, brand new, on a 72 Impala 400. Oh, I'll take this, put it on there. Well, the motor was in my Nova, it was a 76 Chevelle dish top piston thing. Right around the back, Joel. I put the carburetor on, and you know what happened, right? I got my first win.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a big difference.
Okay.
It's a big difference, and I could have kept my mouth shut.
My father catch you with that?
He let it go. He didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was stock.
Birthday present, right? That was always his. That was always his excuse. Listen, I'll give you a birthday present. Don't come back next week.
It was a GM one, so
Yeah.
no. Then unfortunately, I shared it with one of the carburetor guys, and the next thing, Barlow had it, and
Right.
Aka had it, and Knipe had it, and I was running in the back again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Now today, you're not going to find that carburetor or in the junkyard. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean?
I mean, even if you find a junkyard that's got the old cars, I mean, you got to find somebody who's going to rebuild it.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, they're just not there, and the price of salvage went up so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They got rid of the 4,000-pound cars.
Yeah.
You go to a junkyard, what do you find? 4 cylinders.
Listen, I just took a car today, '83 Buick Electra, and I just took it today and scrapped it. My old Enduro car today. Obviously it was gutted and all that other stuff. It still had the motor tranny in it, no cage. I had $250 for it. That was double what I thought I would get for it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're paying almost $700 for a junk car now if it's complete.
Yeah.
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 So I mean, it's going to be tough to.
Do you guys agree though that it's time for the rules to be revamped, or do you think that it's not the rules that are keeping guys from the division? Do you think that it's something else?
I wouldn't say that all of the rules need to be revamped. I think that down at Middletown they have a pretty extensive rule book, and I think that Emerson does a pretty good job in enforcing it down there. The guys know him; they know that he's not going to put up with a lot of shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Not to knock the other 2 tracks, but I think that what I see is a little bit of blending of some rules. One thing I was thinking about and seemed very popular in those polls that I did was the street tire idea. If you could get all 3 tracks on the street tire, I think that's going to be huge.
I agree 100%. Yep.
And there's some other things. The weights of the cars. There's some little discrepancies here and there in the rules that I think that you put a street tire on an Accord, you're going to want to add a little bit of weight to it anyway. Same thing at Bethel. So I think right now the way the weight is, I think it's what's Bethel 3,100.
Yeah.
Accord's 3,150, and I think Middletown's 3,200.
Yep.
So I mean, it's kind of silly. We had a guy show up at Accord a couple weeks ago. It was his first time there, and he ended up, he was a few pounds light on the scales and still got the DQ. So there's got to be, some low-hanging fruit that I think that we can get across the board. And like I said, that if we could all agree on that DOT tire thing, I think that's going to be a huge deal. I think that's going to help, bring cars in from other tracks. Everybody else around us is running DOT tires right now.
But where are you going to get them from, Jay?
It makes sense. What's that, the DOT tires?
No, not the DOT. The car. You say you're going to bring. If you switch to DOT tires, that you're going to bring in more cars. But where are them cars going to come from? Yeah, the factory stocks up north run DOTs, but they're nothing like our cars. So you're not really. you still have to open up and change some things. If the ultimate comparison is to bring cars down from the southern tier, you gotta be able to open up a carburetor rule and stuff like that. DOT tires is just not going to cut it, I don't think.
So say there was a consensus about the the bigger carburetor, the bigger Rochester, the 500, which is compatible with the 4412.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there could be something with with a weight different. Who knows? There's a lot of conversations that still need to take place once we figure out what it is that we want to do. I know that George Van Arsdale was in on that Facebook page that I created. He didn't say anything, but he was sitting there listening. I know that Gary Palmer's ears are open. Emerson's here as a representative from Orange County. I think that there's an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity to change a few things, maybe get in line with, maybe Lebanon Valley a little bit. You're right. Some of the southern tier tracks, they're a lot different than what we're doing. The chassis that they're running, some of them, geez, they look like they're offset to me. I don't know. What they're doing. They look like late models. It doesn't look like what we're running. I do know that when the rules were opened up a little bit for like the Gobbler several years ago, we got some of those guys.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what? Everybody was so worried about them. They got this, they got that, they got headers.
Your regular guys stomped their asses.
Regular guys, we still kicked their asses, so it didn't matter.
100%. I think Ray won that.
I think he did. He either won.
Yeah, that was the first year I won it. Is when I changed. I
was running second and caught on fire.
That was the first year first year I actually changed the car and put a 4412 and headers on it.
Now, what's going to be interesting, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here, but what's going to be interesting is this coming Saturday, the Sullivan 100 up at Bethel Motor Speedway. If you look at the rules, if you run a 4412, you must add 150 pounds to the car. If you also run headers, you must also add an additional 150 pounds to the car. So you must be 300 pounds overweight if you run headers and a 4412 on DOT tires. To me, that's going to be interesting to see.
And and those guys will,
Bob, what you're shaking it. Listen, what do you think? What are you thinking?
That's a tough call. I mean, I still think that the guys that run Bethel are still going to do well and probably win the race. I don't think that there's going to be an outsider that's going to come in there and just dominate. Bethel's a tough little track,
It's
just not easy there. So, you know what? I mean, I think that's the right call that they're going to, you want to run a bigger carburetor, you're going to add some weight to it.
Yep.
I mean, maybe that's something that, we would consider when we talk about these things. It only makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm watching the comments as they're coming in, and every single person.
There's a lot of good ones over there.
Everybody is pretty much saying the DOT tires would help a lot. Would help a lot. With Orange County's schedule being, how many times a month are you guys running now, Pop?
I think they ran 16 times this year.
Okay, so they're not every week.
Nope.
So with the DOT tire now, you're going to change the setup, and those guys are eligible to go to Bethel. Bethel is one of the highest paying tracks around in our area. Or the same tire, now you're able to, if you don't want to, mess with the asphalt, now you can run up at Accord with the same tire. I think that's going to open the door for guys to want to go.
Mm-hmm. Doing the tire itself is going to open the door because, honestly, I took my car when we were running it. Emerson ran it last year, and all we did was change the tire.
Yeah.
We didn't change anything else. Yeah. We had a transmission that made it work at both tracks.
And you guys were tough up there.
You had fun.
Yeah,
you had fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if Accord had the DOTs, we probably would have went there because the gear worked there too. You wouldn't have had to change much. Maybe put springs in the front. Otherwise, it'll work.
So
and that's what Vigiletti said too about the tires, that it would entice guys that don't want to buy 3 different sets to try out the 3 different tracks.
So what I went and did was I went and bought a second car because you almost have to have that if you're going to run Middletown and Accord, and then if you're going to run Bethel.
Walt did that.
Yeah.
Walt did that. He ran 2 cars, and he did well at both tracks. I mean, he got a championship at Accord. He got a win up at Orange County.
Yeah.
And he was very competitive.
And that's kind of where we're at. We're at the fact that if you're going to bounce around, it's you either need 2 cars or you need somebody to come together.
Or you need 4 guys helping you work on it.
Yeah, I think Tony's gonna have a stroke.
Tony's worked on probably every one of our cars.
Yeah.
Facts.
He's had his hands. He's awesome car builder. Awesome. He take care of the cars. Awesome. Not a very good driver, but
Unless he's at S&S Speedway, because Jay had his hands full with him there in that one.
Oh, I wanted to stop him so bad.
He's the only guy that I know that could put it on its roof and jump up and down and be happy.
Yeah, but
He was standing on the seat. How's he gonna get hurt?
Yeah.
I was going to say, after you put the booster seat in it for him,
Yeah.
he's good.
Listen, Tony, we love you, man. He's
Shit.
Tony's the best.
Yeah.
And George piped in and said that all races for the remainder of the year, Bethel, are on DOTs.
Yeah.
So
And
not just the Sullivan 100.
Here's my thing too with the DOT tires. If when I was running Middletown on a regular basis every single week, I bought a set of tires, and provided I didn't cut one, those things would last me 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
100%, 4 or 5 years. And I remember in the early 2000s, Jay, running up at Accord on DOTs as well, and they never wore unless
We transitioned to the race tire in 2003. So we've been running those American Racers since 2003 at Accord.
right.
And
Yeah.
before that, like you said, I ran for a couple of years with the DOTs. I didn't have one bit of trouble with those things at all. I thought they were
None.
awesome.
No.
It actually kind of came as a surprise that we had changed. But some guys wanted to handle a little bit better and go a little bit faster, and that was the driving thing behind it, I guess.
Yeah, and I told Pop this earlier too. I was talking to him earlier. The DOTs I've been running up at Bethel now for a couple of years. I've been running the Enduros and all that other stuff. I probably have 30 to 50 races on them. Some of those races being 100 lapper, and I just now last week had to go and buy like 2 new ones. So even on the asphalt, they're not wearing. But like I said to Pop, I don't have a big giant motor that's roasting the tires either.
Sure. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You run a 4412 with that car?
Have I?
Do you? When you
Not-
run no.
When certain nights, if the street stocks were not running and I was running just an enduro, yes. On DOTs.
Would there be more tire wear?
No, I personally did not see it.
Like,
But I've always been easy on tires. I've never been one to to drive like Ray. I've never been one to drive like Ray. Ray is on the throttle every lap. I mean, you thought the car was smoking because it was braking. It wasn't. It was just Ray. That's how Ray drives. Tony told me to follow Ray one night at Accord, and I said, "Screw that shit. I'm not doing that." I don't know what he was doing. He's facing the flag stand, then he's back, and he's over. Jesus Christ! And listen, that's why you can't get by him.
Absolutely sideways through the corner.
I'm not into it. Listen, Ray's got more than one car. Cool, let him drive that shit like that. I ain't doing it.
That almost sounds like Saturday night at Middletown.
Jesus, And then this one, I like this one, right? He's got his hand out the window here. That's not
You know how many times your father yelled at me for that?
Oh, I do. But
I mean, this is kind of the Pops at Middletown. What would your consensus be with us, even though a lot of guys run 2-inch offsets, and if we could mix and match, like put a 3 or a 4 on the left rear with the 2s to make the car's handle a little better. If you want to tighten the car up, because here we don't have jack and bolts and this and that, offset the wheel inside a little bit and, be able to make the car handle a little better. Would you have, be open to that?
Before you answer that, I just want to make this perfectly clear, Jay. We haven't discussed this, but this is our opinion. This is not the opinion of the speedways. This is not Accord Speedway's opinion. This is all of our opinion. The speedways have nothing to do with what we're discussing at this time. So whatever Emerson is about to say, it is not the opinion of Orange County Fair Speedway. It is Emerson's opinion. Am I wrong on that, guys?
No,
correct.
I
Okay.
agree with
All
you.
right. I just want to make, because I don't want somebody piping in going, well, Emerson said that we could run a 4-inch off, and
Yeah,
no.
I
This is,
understand that. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to
I mean, Ray, you know as well as I do, going back a few years, I mean, especially with the Camaro, I mean, if the car was loose, what did you do? You changed the offset on the left rear.
Yeah.
It was simple. Take it from a 4 to a 3, or 3 to a 4. And you move 50 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, why did they do the 2? I don't know. Maybe because the guys that had the Monties wanted the 2-inch, and they didn't want to give them that advantage of throwing the other tire or other rim on there to make it so they could handle better. So you give a little to take a little. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, they did the
see Jay smiling. Jay smiling.
I mean, it's simple. I mean, they take away the jack and the lowering blocks on the Camaros, so they got to take away something off the money too. So they made them put pigtails in. I mean, I can't answer for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at them like you do, the same rules. I ran and I looked and I went, well, what can I do here? Maybe I can, well, there's a little gray area here. Maybe I'll do this, And until somebody sees it and says something, you get away with it.
No, I know. I noticed the night when we were down there, when we did the Markey race, you had the gauge out and, checking all the wheels. And then one other night there, I watched it. He's pretty good with the tech down there. He was checking the rear control arm lengths and all that stuff. So,
things that they never did, Ray. Put it that
I know.
way.
I appreciate the tech at Orange County, because even when we were changing our car from Bethel to Orange County, Tony wanted to leave some stuff. The air cleaner. Let's just hit that. The air cleaner. Absolutely not. You're allowed a 6-inch air cleaner at Bethel. Orange County only allows a 3. Well, it's just air cleaners. No. Because you know as well as I do, Pop's going to break our balls as soon as we get into the compound, if we get into the compound. You know what I mean? So that's what you need. That's what you need. I need to know that if I pull into Accord and I know that I got something I'm not supposed to have, I should have taken it off, because I should know that they're going to check it. And some of the tracks, I got to say that they
understand too. Some of even your safety check, your initial safety check. I mean, that's where the tech guy's got to look at stuff. I mean, he goes through his normal checklist, but at the same time, he's looking. All right, and he might not make a big deal about it. He put your sticker on and whatever. And when you're all done, then all of a sudden he walks over and he gets in the trailer and he says, "Listen, you got to change this. You got to change that." That way, nobody else knows, but the tech guy knows.
I remember a couple of those conversations at Accord, Emerson, with some of my stuff that my back windows and a couple things like that. But we came to an agreement in the end, and it was good.
But we do what we got to do. I mean,
Yep.
Now, I know for a fact you've had that conversation, Pop, with a couple of the guys there, and they took offense to it.
Yeah.
But you didn't make it public.
No.
And that's something that my father used to do, and it used to irritate the shit out of me when he did that. And I would say, Dad, if the guy is new and you cut him a break, I understand that. But a guy who's been in the game a long time and you caught him with something that it wasn't supposed to have, that's what would irritate me. But that was the way he did things, and
it's not the blatant thing, Joel.
Right.
I mean, if you're in there and the guy's got a 500 carburetor on there, you're not going to say to him, "You're good," and then go over and say, "Don't run it again."
Right.
That's not happening.
Right.
Your dad wouldn't
100%.
even do that.
Right.
He wasn't that way.
But
No.
and it's funny because I've had this conversation with a couple of you guys, and you guys would get yelled at that night for it. I would get yelled at all week. And it would literally be, listen, I can't believe you did that. You know what I mean? I can't have you doing that shit. I would pull into if I happened to make it into the compound, he left the compound, and somebody else, would tech the cars. And it was difficult to do that with having him there as a tech guy. And Ray would be the first to tell you, Ray told me one night, listen, if I were to do that, your father's going to have to come over and pick you up off the floor. So we didn't have that conversation after that, but let's talk about so the big thing this year, I think the big dust up this year was the aftermarket master cylinders. So we know somebody who had to change them. They were allowed, and then they weren't allowed. I personally, I have them. I don't have an issue with them. What do you think would be? And I'm not talking about your calipers. The calipers I feel need to be stock, but the master cylinders themselves. What is the? I don't understand why some of you guys are against those.
I can give you a thing because you can actually. I have them in my other car that I don't run anymore, and I ran them at Accord and I ran them at Middletown. Is because you can set the brakes up to make the car handle better. But in your consensus with not being able to adjust them while you're driving, I don't have a problem with them because I have both sets.
Right.
I have the hanging pedals in the car. You can go in there and adjust them before you go out and race. But when you're racing, if you don't have an adjustment, I'd almost be, hey, let it go. It's safer for the car. You can make the car handle better. You're not going to hit the brakes or have problems with it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Jay, your thoughts?
I think, I ran them years ago, back when it wasn't in the rules at Accord. A few of us had them up there. I think that it helps balance the brakes a little bit. And like Ray said, there is a little bit more of a handling advantage of it. I personally don't really care. I mean, it's a simple thing. If that's going to keep guys from not racing, I think it's stupid. It's just another thing. It's an aftermarket thing,
Yeah.
It's getting harder to find, stuff in the junkyards. If a guy really doesn't want to change his master cylinder and it's going to piss him off when he doesn't come the next week, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's not that big of an advantage.
Pop, your thoughts?
I ran a proportional valve in my Camaro. I mean, most guys take them out, but that's the way I learned how to drive my car.
Yep.
Front end went down first. I mean, it was always loose, but I never did the other things. I don't know what they did. I don't know whether it's good or bad or not. I can't give you an opinion, Joe.
Yeah. So here's what I was told. That can I adjust them? Sure can. Like Ray said, yes I can. Absolutely, 100%. Can I adjust them when I'm racing? No. And it's as simple as looking under the dash. You can see there's no adjustment to it. Nothing. I can't do it while I'm racing. It's no different than running a stock master cylinder, swapping your lines so that you have more rear brake than you do front brake, and like Pop said, putting a proportioning valve in. And this is what I liked, and I have never seen anybody else do it other than Emerson, but guys are putting shutoffs in the frames so that you can't see them. So when you're coming off the track and you're sitting over at the scales, here comes Emerson with his heat gun. I thought that was brilliant. It's simple.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're shutting off a brake and all that other stuff and it clearly says you can't do that, then you can't do that. But I don't want to bash any place, but it's almost like you're chasing somebody away for something as minuscule as that. And I think that seems to be the issue with all three tracks. It's the little rules that are chasing, that are just, listen, I don't want to be bothered with it, so I'm not changing it.
Well, Bethel, they allow it, Joe?
Yes.
And Accord, they allow it or no?
Now, here's the thing. 2 years ago, I had it approved. I asked. I did the right thing. It was approved. And this year, they made Walter put the
Well, Walter had the Willwood calipers and everything. So
Well, oh, he had the calipers too. Okay, I don't know the deal. It's my understanding. Now, forgive me if I messed this up, but the master cylinder, they made him put that back on the firewall, all that stuff, which
Yeah,
I didn't understand when it was. You can always add, you can't take away. So it kind of stopped me from going to Accord a little bit because I didn't want to have my chops broke about the master cylinders.
Yeah. I mean, he had the whole setup in.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't see it when he did it. I sort of.
Yeah, neither did I. So if we're getting it wrong, Walt, you're
Yeah.
watching, I apologize, dude. I'm not trying to bash you. I was just using it as an example.
He came up to me afterwards the next week and he goes, "You want to check my car?" And I go,
Yeah.
"For what?" He
Yeah.
says, "Well, I took all that stuff out." I go, "What stuff?"
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I made a phone call and found out, but that's beside the point, you know.
Yeah. But it's, and then you got guys that are, because Bethel allows like the aftermarket Bicknell setup for the pulleys and the alternator and all that stuff. You got guys that are willing to maybe try Orange County, but they don't want to have to change that pulley setup. So I think it deters guys from trying to maybe go somewhere else because of these little tiny rules that make it just for that track.
I wish I had the answer. I mean, unfortunately, as a racer, we've tried to done this. Ray knows.
Right.
We've tried to do it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Get the rules equal, equivalent.
Yeah.
Somewhere where you can go just there, whatever. I don't think it's going to make a difference as far as car count because you get used to going to a certain racetrack. Maybe at the end of the year, you might get more cars going to Accord.
Right.
You might get more cars at Eastern States. You might get cars at the 100 lapper Sullivan thing. But during the year, I personally believe if you don't have tech, you lose cars. You don't gain cars.
Absolutely.
When you tech 100%, you gain cars because guys come and they go, I can actually win here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys feel, but that's how I was. I did well. Your father taught me well, Joel. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Taught me very well.
Yeah. And it's I don't know. I don't think any of us have the answer, but I do think that we all kind of need to get together and figure this out because this is still grassroots racing, man. This is still, when people see our stuff, Jay, they see your car, right? And I've seen you bring your car out at the camp. Dude, those kids went ballistic. They went nuts. And what is the first thing they're thinking? Hey, man, do you run NASCAR with that? Because that's and this is what I don't understand is racing started with fenders. It started with fenders. And it's, I understand we're an open wheel country, but I think that people relate more, especially somebody who's coming to the races for the first time. They're going to identify more with our division than with an open wheel class. Been announcing for over 20 years, and if I haven't been the announcer at that track for more than a month, I can't tell you the difference between a sportsman, a small block, and a modified. I have no idea.
Absolutely.
So
No, definitely.
Look at who's bringing their kids to the track these days. It's guys that are our age, right?
Yes.
And a little bit older. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, when I was in high school, I had one of those '88 Monties, and I was tearing up the roads with it. I think these cars are cool, So that's what they see. They're able to relate that car with an experience in their own personal life, and they just think that that particular class is cool. Like Emerson said earlier, we're getting to the point where there's, kids, the younger kids are starting to identify a little bit more with the four cylinders. because
Yeah.
that's the type of car that they were, growing up in and those
Yeah.
types of things. And it's unfortunate. Look at, I think it's interesting if you look at some of the tracks like out in the western part of the country, you look at some of their like stock car divisions, and they're allowing, newer style bodies on a metric chassis. And they're also, they got fabricated chassis as well. And I think that's a major expense for the class. And I think actually Lebanon Valley's allowing the Johnson chassis now. I don't think we're there yet. I think there's still cars out there. I went and picked up in the springtime, man. I went and picked up 3 front clips, and a bunch of front end parts and all kinds of stuff from an old buddy that used to race. He had all this stuff sitting around. I think there's stuff still out there. I think there's still room for the class to survive on some of the stuff that's there. I think they allowing the aftermarket stuff, whether it's some of the little things like Joel was talking about with the brakes or whatever, that are going to be easier to obtain than going to the junkyard and getting stuff. You can get all the front end parts and rear suspension basically out of the catalog now. A lot of it's reclaimed stuff. You can still buy some parts from Napa. So I don't think we're we're in super trouble yet, but it's great to have the conversation and figure out what we're going to do in the next couple of years anyway.
Yeah. So Alicia, I just want to say this. Alicia Howard piped in. Of course, that's Alicia Henry piped in. That's Walt's wife. She said that Walt it was the master cylinder that they made him change. So that was, thank you, Alicia. I appreciate it. And I knew somebody always gets on here and yells at me because I screwed up, but we just want to make that clear. I think that this is, I think 20 years ago, we all had this conversation and, was it true then? It wasn't that bad. But then when the cash for clunkers came around, I think a lot of our stuff was scrapped. But I do think that we need to come up with something that's going to allow us to fix these cars. Emerson, we had this conversation with Mr. Hearn, Brett Hearn, at the beginning of the year. The stock firewall. It used to be you couldn't replace the firewall with sheet metal. It had to be a firewall. Now, I think that they're allowing, like, if it has to be frame rail to frame rail, correct? It has to be. You can replace it with, what is it, 18 gauge?
18 or 20, I forget what it is, Joel.
Okay.
But it's got to be good stuff.
So you need to allow us to fix the cars, and if the parts are not. If you can't go to the store and buy the part, then you shouldn't be running it. That's kind of my opinion. I think that the carburetors are a big issue, especially if you got, like I said, you got a new guy that's coming in, and we need to be able to point to him and go, listen, if you go to that store there, you can buy this carburetor. And I think it's time to update a little bit. I'm not saying let's go full blown. We need to change everything. Let's not do that because then that's when we get pro stocks again. Let's not do that. But I think that the stuff has to be accessible.
And that's the thing. Like I was telling you earlier, when I started in the street stocks, I get a Rochester. So I said, okay. I went to the Speedway magazine there, or the catalog. Got a Rochester. Made it to the top 5, and then I got DQ'd. I'm like, why? And they're like, no, that's not the right. It's a Rochester, yeah, but it's a 500 CFM, so they nailed me on it. Then after that, I'm scrambling, trying to find a Rochester carburetor, and to me, it was like almost impossible. You got to go to people like Ray or Emerson or guys that's been in the game for 20, 30 years just to be able to find even a core. You got a junk core, we'll rebuild it. That's how hard it is.
Yeah. So everybody, and Jay, we had talked privately about this. Everybody was complaining because I had a 4.9-inch. The only reason I went to that was I was running anywhere from 300 to 400 laps a night at Bethel Motor Speedway. I was running street stocks, enduros, renegades. I was running with the pro stocks, and I was blowing rears up. So we went to that. There was no advantage whatsoever. I was still a third place car.
It was probably a disadvantage.
So
It's heavier. It's more weight inside. I mean, it's less weight. The whole thing.
I brought it to Middletown. Everybody, you're going to be able to change the angles and all that other stuff. Listen, Pop, you saw it. You saw what we did. You saw what Tony did. We had you actually go up and look at it before we even brought it. And in Middletown, it was horrible because the rear is out here and the front end is here. And in order for me to square the car, you have to add shims and stuff, which you're not allowed at Middletown. So we went back to the Chevy 10-bolt. I'm not saying make this stuff mandatory, but make it an option.
Well, they make different Ford 9 inches too. I mean, I remember way back somebody asked me for one, and I found one in a Cougar, and it fit right underneath the Camaro. It had the same wheelbase. I mean, some of the Ford 9 inches are wider. Tony might have had a wider one, Joel. And that's why it won't square up. I mean, I think one of them 61 and one of them 63. And Jay, you may know more than that than I do, but I know they are different, right?
I know there's different sizes. I know when my father run them back in the old street stock days, there was different lengths.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going way back to the 22 car at Orange County ran one time, and it was in a Camaro, but it was like the right rear was sticking out about 4 inches more than the left.
Yeah.
You changed the way he welded different perches in.
So even Vigiletti and I were talking we ran into each other at a concert, and he was talking to one of his guys, and they said, well, why would you want to go to a Ford 9-inch? It's heavier, it's wider. You know what I mean? So, but again, it's just you need to have options. You know what I'm saying? It's just can you go and buy a brand new Chevy 10-bolt rear, 7.5-inch rear? No, you can't. They don't make them anymore. And this is kind of where I think, where I'm saying, baby steps. You know what I mean?
Right.
George Van Arsdale allowed the 4.9-inch. I was pushing for a 4412. Absolutely not, he says. No, we don't need to do that right now. But I think that everybody's looking to work with us. But
you guys may be asking for too much. Why don't you ask for the 390?
Listen, I'm open to that. You know what I mean? If you can go
the 390 is equivalent to what we're running right now,
and you can go and buy that.
And I mean, I'm not saying it because it's what I want. I'm just saying because the research that I've done, is that Ford 390, that Holly 390 is equivalent to the Rochester that we're running right now.
Yeah. If you could go to the store and buy it, I'm all for it. That's all I'm saying.
And I mean, that would stop the hierarchies from saying, they're looking for more power, they want to do this, then they want that, then they're going to do this. I mean, don't ask for the world.
Yeah.
Ask for dinner, just feed me.
Yeah.
Well, we're on that conversation about being able to get stock parts. Now, what about some of these exhaust manifolds?
Yeah.
I mean, we know we had a discussion with my son's car. And I guess the old 305 exhaust manifolds are not allowed in Middletown anymore
Not
because
on
they
the top.
go over. Yeah,
Gotta go underneath.
yeah.
I don't know where it came from, Ray, but it's in there. So
No, I'm not complaining about it. I know it's a rule, but it's like it's a
and
stock
from
part.
what I understand, they're readily available through I think it's Speedway.
Oh yeah, they are.
So and they're not expensive. They're not expensive. What are you doing, Joel? Higher technology.
I watched the comments on my phone, and it's dying.
Yeah.
I gotta plug it in.
So since you've been watching the comments, Joel, I've been watching them too, and a lot of questions, a lot of comments. Like I'll try to find it, but they were talking about these guys. Everybody knows some of these guys got big motors. This guy, they said, the red box putting red boxes. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying what I'm just watching, and there's a lot of comments of the same thing about putting, 600 chips so everybody's on the same page. You got guys with big motors in the bottom end. It's just like a common thing. Like, I don't know. A lot of people seem to think the same way.
On the consensus part about having a big motor, we're restricted anyway. So I don't care how big it is. You got that little carburetor.
You're choking it out anyway. No, I agree.
That tiny exhaust. So,
Yeah, no.
Yep.
My consensus is, we have to run stock springs. We can't run, like on the Camaros, when Emerson was running them, you had to probably run a 12-inch spring or an 11 spring in the front. I mean, there's plenty of us guys that got 9.5 still left. What about letting us put, the spring things in there, the spring buckets, non-adjustable ones, to get the cars back to where, and stuff like that. Aaron.
Well, Ray, what's the advantage of having a 9-inch spring or 11-inch spring?
Well, you're taking the weight off the front end now. You're jacking the car back up in the air, so the front end's
Put
back
more
up
left
in the air.
rear, left rear weight.
Well, not
Jack right front, you're going to put more left rear weight.
Yeah, but with the springs being higher in the front, instead of running the 9s with a set of, the non-adjustable buckets in the front, like we used to do years ago with the street stocks. You're putting the weight back down on the front, so you have more bite on the front tires.
Yeah.
As long as they're non-adjustable.
I know when
It's
I
just-
first started, we were allowed cups, and
Yeah.
the Dembex I got from Andy and Tom. They actually made shims, and we put shims on top of the cup.
Yep. We
And-
used to
and-
do-
I mean, we used to cut the thing so one was in the.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you do that to set the car up, but I mean, you have no weight jacks to make the car handle better. We're running on street tires, Track is a little different from what it was years ago.
Well, I think, personally, I think what it is, Ray, I mean, they made it that way so that you and I, as old timers, wouldn't have the advantage of the new guy coming in. Because
Yeah, but where do you think I learned it from?
Yeah.
I know. I watched you one night looking at my car.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Listen, I act like an idiot. I'm really not.
You and another guy that's got,
Yeah.
I watched another guy learn a lot, and we talked.
Yeah.
He races with you at Bethel.
Yeah. So here's and Pop and I were talking about this. I see guys piping in. You guys with the big motors and red boxes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When we first started the shootout series and stuff, Tom Dembeck said it best. He said, we had him come in and he was doing tech for us, and he said, listen, if the race is close, I'm gonna just look at basic stuff: carburetor, distributor, pull your valve cover. If somebody is dominating and they are gone. Listen, we're gonna find something. I think a majority of us, and we all know who each one of us are, what each one of us is capable of. Yeah, some of the same guys are winning, but it's not by a whole lot. Whereas in the past, we would see stuff and just be like, dude, what the hell? And the tracks are kind of letting that go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the big motors are there as much as everybody thinks. And here's a good example. Ray went to Orange County and finished second and totally kicked my ass. I finished ninth. Okay? The following weekend, Ray goes to Bethel. I had to move his ass out of the way because he was a lap car with the same car.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's, you know what I mean? So it's just, if it's a close race, just, tech.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got one guy who's dominating week in and week out, and by a lot, come on, man. And that was always my issue. I never cared what you had. We try and figure out a way to beat you. But I don't want to hear that, well, it's handling. I don't want to hear that. To me, that's bullshit. Jay, do you agree?
A lot of it has to do with the fact.
I've always said that it's not our place as drivers to complain about somebody else's
Right.
car. You know what I mean? It's not my place to say this guy's got a big motor, he's got this, he's got that. That's the tech man's job.
Yep.
So let the tech man do his job. you know what? Maybe if the tech man isn't doing his job, then if you feel that you're getting your ass kicked and you got to mention something to somebody else, don't call out another driver.
Right.
You know, that to me, that's just, I don't understand that. You know.
Right. See, I think social media also has really killed short track racing. It really has.
Absolutely.
You know, instead of that night having a conversation, or the following week having a conversation with somebody, everybody's got balls. Everybody's a tough guy and wants to be a tough guy on social media. And to me, that's nonsense. It really is. Listen, I won't bash a track. I won't bash another driver on here. I won't do it. If I have something to say, I'm going to come tell you. And Ray can vouch for that when I first started.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And
we've still had our discussions over the years.
Yep.
So.
well, yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes. But like two grown men, we had a discussion. You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying? And but I think that with the social media shit, it's just, dude, it's nonsense. That's nonsense.
I do it every time. If there's just a little thing on the track, I go over and I'm I try to be as professional as I can be, and I deal with it right there at the track, and then that's it. It's over with.
Listen, as Emerson said, he saw me in my teenage years, and he had to deal with me in my teenage years. And listen, I'll be the first to admit, 90% of the time I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. The way I acted, the way I treated people, 100%, absolutely. Was it provoked? Yeah, sometimes, absolutely it was. Yeah. But one thing that I learned from him was, if you get the tape, watch the tape, and you still think he did something wrong, then by all means, go squawk. Jerry Higbee told me, listen, go back to your pit, get out of the car, drink a bottle of water. If you still feel that you need to go have a conversation, then go have a conversation. But this getting on social media and this guy's that and that guy's this, dude, I don't agree with any of that shit. I really don't.
It also does something else too, because you got to remember that you need to treat your racing career like your job, your career. If you want to be successful and you want to have guys sponsor you, and if they're going to look at that just like they look at everything else. You go to apply for a job, they look at your social media. You're looking for sponsors, they're going to look at your social media.
Yeah.
You act like an idiot all the time, nobody's going to want to sponsor you.
Yep.
And you're not going to survive in this sport.
100%. 100%.
Definitely.
Listen, all of us have been in this game over 20 plus years, and I hope that that some of the younger guys are watching, and I hope that they're learning something here tonight. This is a conversation that has absolutely been awesome. You know what I mean? And I hope that it continues, and I hope that in 30 years I'm still doing this. And our division is still around. I really do, and whatever I could do to help make it better. And I think that's why we're all here.
100%.
Well, it might be the nostalgia division back then. By then,
That's fine. Listen, that's fine. Listen, I'll go with John Rhodes and Jimmy Banks and all them guys.
they'll be restoring our cars and racing them.
Listen, that's fine. Yeah.
You think that it's like a name thing? We've heard that many times. Like maybe everybody gets construed with the street stock name. Because when I started, it was pure stock. I started at Accord, it was pure stocks.
Technically, Orange County is still pure stock.
Pure stock.
Compared.
That's semantics to me anyway.
I've heard that ridiculous thing on Help Source about 10 million times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Source.
Yeah.
And guys are like, oh, this is what a street stock. No, it's not. It's street stock. It's a blanket term for a type of car.
Yeah.
Listen, you go upstate and look at their factory stocks.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly.
Oh, just take a look at Penn Cam's factory stocks.
Holy, I have.
Yeah.
I was.
Last year when they dropped the green, I was just there to help get the cars that were wrecked off the track. I was just
no kidding.
by lap 3, I was 2 laps down. I had no business being on that track.
Yeah. And the street stocks up there are late models in my book.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow.
By no means are we knocking any of those tracks, man. Those guys have Buck Mills, all them boys.
I mean,
they're absolutely great guys.
They have rules just like we do.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
The people that go there know what the rules are, and they build a car to the rules.
So
100%.
I had the pleasure of going up to Nate Stevens put out an unruly race. Really good dude. If any of you guys ever have a chance to run one of his shows, do it. So we went up to Thunder Mountain. Never been there. Absolutely great facility, great hospitality. The guy who won it,
Deinhardt, Steven.
Deinhardt, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I looked over to the left, and that thing came through the corner and was planted like a late model, and that's
Oh, yeah.
what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. He's like, no, that's a street stock. Like
Yeah.
hell it is. So I think the name is just like Jay said. It's a blanket. It's let's not get caught. That's semantics. Let's not get caught up in you know what I mean. That's listen. A street stock in California is not the same as a street stock in New York. My brother's down in Florida, and he runs a Gladiator, which I thought was a factory stock. A Gladiator is a 4-cylinder that you're allowed to do whatever you want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just,
Yeah.
let's,
It's like the 4 cylinders upstate then.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now-
it's like I have my family in Alabama. They run street stocks, but they run under like the IMCA banner, and they pretty much could take that same street stock to anywhere. You know what I mean, down south, which is a big deal. Because I mean, they live in Alabama. They want to go to New Orleans, to the other side or to anywhere that runs that IMCA street stock. You know what I mean?
Christ. So Doug Ross buys DJ it was a UMP street stock that came from Texas. And
Totally
he bought
different.
that for his kid. And when I took it out for hot laps, and I told Doug to put it on the trailer because you're going to get your kid killed. The heads were
Yeah.
this thin. It
Yeah,
had headers. This thing
yeah.
was. I picked the left front right up off the ground. It was
yeah.
unbelievable.
They
And
go.
I said to Doug, listen, don't let your kid drive this. The DJ was just, I think this was like his third car in 3 months. So, it was just,
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. That's what you have, the pro stocks for, or
Yeah.
late models or something. I don't want to see that.
No, they are wicked. When I went down there for vacation, man, I've never seen a street stock lift the left front off the ground. They're just not meant to do that. Like that was insane.
So,
Freewheel.
Yeah, I see Dave Gerard popping in. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Dave earlier this year, and for years and years I announced up at Accord, and it was there for both his championships. And he's got a car, and I don't see him with it. But he knows what he's up against, and he just piped in and he said, I don't care what you call them, just have rules and tech to enforce them.
I think that's the biggest problem at a lot of tracks. Tech.
Do you think that, my opinion, do you think that sometimes the tech guy will look the other way because we don't want to lose cars?
Good point.
Emerson, you don't have to answer this.
I've been in some situations where it looked like that they looked the other way, or things really didn't turn out the way that you thought they were, and but like I said, to me, there's a tech person for a reason. It's not my job or your job to say what's illegal or what's legal on a car. That's
Right.
the tech man's job. And if you have a problem with the track where where you're racing, you don't think the tech is the way it should be, then maybe you should talk to the promoter or somebody that's going to have some authority in that type of
Now,
situation.
what do you think about having, for years, and I'll use my dad as an example, they called him the chief of the street stocks because that's all he did. He was just street stocks. Orange County that I see is the only track that I've been to this year and in the past that they have a tech guy just for street stocks, and that's Emerson. Do you think that maybe that would help if you had just?
I think it would help the guys' minds that are complaining that they don't think that tech is the way it should be. A street stock car is a lot different than a modified or a sportsman. You're looking for specific things that, and if you have the experience, like somebody like Emerson, who's been running these cars for a long time, some guys might not like it, but he's really like an ideal person to be in that position. Because
Listen,
he knows,
Tony's yelled at him before and told him, "Listen, man, you shouldn't be the tech guy." and I kind of have to disagree with that, because who better to have the tech guy than the guy who's been around for 40 years, the guy who knows what you can and can't do, the guy who's probably pushed the envelope a little bit. You know what I mean? And he knows what to look for. And again, this goes right back to when we were getting ready to come to Middletown and, hey, man, listen, I'm not going to worry about that. No. We need to change that because he's going to break our balls about it. You know what I mean? And that's what you need. When you pull into that track, it's, listen, we are 100% correct. We're good. I know we are. You know what I mean? Not, well, they're probably not going to tech tonight, so we'll get away with it.
I've seen that at different tracks. I'm not going to mention tracks where, one year I lost the championship because I knew the guy's car. I'm not going to mention. And I know people have been disqualified for things they got away with all year until last night.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
because the tech looked at the car, read the rules, and they were disqualified for it.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I know Accord did it with a few people because Bethel allows you guys to run roller tip rockers. I have nothing against it. I don't think it's an advantage, but it's in the rules, black and white, at Accord and Middletown. You can't run them.
Yep.
So they got disqualified for it.
Yeah. So, listen, we went to Middletown. I took them off because I know Middletown doesn't allow them.
I mean, nothing for nothing, Joel. Anybody that I tell them, read the rules.
Yeah.
If you read the rules, we won't have a problem.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah.
It's there. It's black and white. Yeah. And Orange County has a lot of do not do this. You have to use this. And I mean, the gray area is minuscule.
I mean, I could vouch for it. I went to Lebanon Valley first time I ever raced there to have fun. The tech guy come over to me after the race. He says, "You got to pull a valve cover." I says, "For what?" He says, "We want to check your rock arms. You got to have a GM insignia." I didn't have it.
I remember that. I remember you
I
telling
told
me
the
that.
guy,
Weren't you missing like one? One didn't have a diamond on it or something, right?
And I told him, I says, I'm not gonna waste your time because it's not there. He says, no problem. They, he pulled it off, measured it. It was a 1.5. It just didn't have the insignia. So first time I ever raced there, and I lost.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I got DQ'd for it.
See, Jay, we should have had Scott on, because I would really like to know why there's such a decline in pure stocks at the Valley when these guys used to get 60, 70 cars a week, and now I see them
2-3 features.
There's hardly anything. Like, what's the issue up there?
I think that some of the rule, when they changed some of the rules, it got a little expensive for some of those guys. That, they went. For those that don't know, they did go to 4412s and headers and 9-inch rears and all these things that we were talking about in these polls. And I just think it was an expense thing. Yeah. I can't say that for sure, but listen, the thing with the 4412 is, how do you know if it's a $600 4412 or a $1,200 4412?
Or it's a Baker $1,800 carburetor.
I mean,
there's a lot of variations of the 4412.
So then this is where Emerson's got a point with these. Now, what is it? It's a 390. This is where he's got a point. This is where I agree with that. I can go buy that at the store. Okay, then let's do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody that's tried to rework them.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's a simple carburetor.
Yeah. So, no, Tony's just piping in. No 390. Listen, he's a mad scientist. I think that I should go buy one and have him. He's saying no because he knows he's going to have to work.
Hey, just take one. Find an old Ford and take one of their carburetors. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I know a couple of guys that got Fords that want to run pure stock. What the problem is trying to find an adapter to adapt the Rochester 2-barrel on it.
Yeah.
So George is saying it's a 2300, isn't it? 350 CFM. I don't know what that means. It's a 2300.
I think it's what they run on a 2300. Some of the 4-cylinder cars.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a 390 carburetor. It's a Holly.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't throw all that. The performance. You don't have the performance.
Right.
It's a restrictor like the carburetor we have.
Yeah.
Well, why restrict it though? Just an opinion.
If you got big giant smoke and you're choking it down with that little tiny carburetor, your big giant smoke don't mean shit.
Well,
Yeah,
why do you-
I mean,
and the other way that they do it is they do your exhaust.
Yep.
I mean, I remember running on 2-inch. Somehow they got 2.5 now. And if somebody ain't watching, they'll sneak 3 in there.
yeah, right.
Because they want the power.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your restrictions: the carburetor and your exhaust. It's simple. It keeps them under control. If you keep them under control, you have better racing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, no, well, that's the same with your exhaust too, with the H pipes and the 2-in-1 exhaust.
Mhm.
Same thing.
Yep, same thing. Same thing.
Yeah, because I do remember years ago with the exhaust, they went from you had to have dual exhaust, and then I remember when they started to make it smaller. I remember having to change all that stuff.
Yep. I ran 1 year with the H pipe before it became illegal, and big difference. Big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, simple thing, and that's a Ford trick. In fact, the exhaust I had on, and this is crazy, I found an old Mustang exhaust. Somebody at the parts store was throwing it away, and it was a dual. And I said, "Oh, well, this looks like it'll fit." And it went right underneath the Camaro exhaust. I said, "Wow, look at this." Well, I think that's when we had the things in the middle that went backwards.
Yeah.
Ones that
Must
ain't
be a
legal.
storm coming. I'm starting to glitch here.
A storm coming? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm starting to glitch. Looks like I don't know what's going on now. Either that or there's a light that's flashing it. So I don't know. But
Yeah.
so listen, we've been at it for an hour and a half. Listen, my guys got to start hitting the sack. I mean, I got to go do that. So, guys, I can't thank you all enough for joining us. I think that we had a great conversation. I don't think that the conversation is over. I think that let's not favor for steering committee for guys to go and start talking to some of the Palmer to Orange and Arsenal and just try and maybe put it all. Just a suggestion. It's class in, and I don't want to do it go well.
No, I think it was pretty good. I think we just got to take things in the baby steps.
Yeah, 100%.
Slowly and,
Yeah.
You
I'm not
can't
saying
just
like
change it overnight.
Yep.
yeah, I'm not saying let's right now. We could do that.
Joel's internet's running out. He's running out of
Yeah,
data.
he's breaking up.
Going on.
He's running out of data.
Yep.
All the kids just hopped on. They're all on YouTube. They're like, you had it long enough.
Yeah, man. So, all right, guys.
But there's a lot of good comments that you guys probably didn't get to see on the side. So, just scroll through, Jay. I know you will.
Yeah, I'll certainly go and check them out, and I'll keep
Yep.
I'll keep that Facebook page going,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
just keep the conversation going.
Yep.
No, I
Absolutely.
think it's a good thing with the conversation going. I piped up a couple of things on it myself, and we'll talk more when I see you up the Accord and
Absolutely.
stuff. So
Listen, good job on the gobbler too, man. We're excited about that.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
my pleasure. He was.
Yeah.
His biggest thing was the car counts, and I told him, I said, listen, guaranteed, we'll get you 20 cars, no problem at all, and we'll have a hell of a
Listen,
race. And he said,
I want to do what I'm doing. Yeah, what I'm doing for the Sullivan 100, I want to do the same thing for the Gobbler. So once that's done, I spoke to Jordan Sheehan. He's going to try and do the same thing that he always does for us Eastern States. So
That's awesome.
I want to do that. I really do.
Yep. I was going to bring it up. I'm glad you did.
in
Yeah,
terms
100%.
of talking about Eastern States, Joel, I was talking with Jordan down in the pit Saturday night when I was there, and we're going to try and do something with that. The same thing like with the Sullivan. So
Yeah, man, absolutely. Listen, we've got a great division, and it's I think with guys like us, that have been around a long time. And you know, somebody called me a veteran the other day, and I went, "What? You know, when did I become that guy?" You know. It's awesome. You know, it's awesome that we can police ourselves. It's awesome that you know, that we're having this conversation. It really is. So in a way, social media is kind of a blessing with what's going on. I don't agree with the other shit, but this is
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
But all right, guys, listen, we're gonna call it a night, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I love racing with all you guys. Pop, I miss racing. Really do. Listen, I always love putting orange paint on your quarter panel. Just for fun.
Hey, you know the phone number, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime.
There you go.
You know, so it starts with a gray hair, beard. Hey, Kimmy, mind your business. So, all right, guys, that's gonna do it. I just got the 2-minute warning from Life, and we all
Yep.
that works.
That's why the internet's glitching. She's letting you know.
Yeah, man. So, okay, again, great job on the stock health course. Congratulations on all your success with that. Dude, this is you, man. You did it. You started this conversation, and dude, this is awesome. This happened.
Yep. Well, like I said, let's just keep it going and keep it positive, and we'll see what we come up with. You know.
Yeah. So, Ray,
All right.
always a pleasure. You're a pain in my ass. And Pop, listen, man, we all love you. We respect you big time. We really, truly, you know, we were kind of hoping to get Tony on. I kind of figured it wasn't going to work out, but that's okay. You know,
Probably a good thing.
it really is.
He's
It
been
really is.
chiming in over there on the chat. It's probably good. Nobody else would have got a word in, I don't think.
Yeah.
For him not to be able to speak, it's got to be killing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's at his house right now like this with his hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was a pleasure, Joel, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Listen, I
Right.
told you it was going to be civil and everything was going to be good, man. So we a good bunch of guys right here.
Yep.
Folks, thank you for watching. Thank you to Jay Smalley, Ray Tarantino, Emerson Stargate Sr. Guys, this has been the F the rule. I'm doing whatever I want. Do it by yourself. buddy.
Hey, I've tried it. You know, it doesn't work.
All right,
Yeah.
guys.
Just don't bring that to Middletown. Emerson, he don't play no games.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Yeah.
I've told Emerson, go ahead, look. You know,
Yeah.
check it out.
Yep. So,
I actually got one by him though. You know, he didn't see something, and I brought it over and showed him
what was
afterwards.
it? What was it?
Oh,
Real simple,
yeah. Yeah.
and I know not to have him there when I go back.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one, Joel. Come on. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's got one.
Yeah, my bolts are
It's
out.
got-
That's it.
The guy who's got 2 or 3 that you gotta count.
Yeah.
He didn't
Awfully quiet in this part of the conversation.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
All right.
that's going to do it for us. I appreciate everybody watching us tonight. What an absolutely great show. This was,
And there was
probably-
definitely a lot of people watching.
yeah, man.
So
probably
it
one of
definitely
my
got
favorite.
out there.
Yeah, one of my
Good.
favorite, absolutely. So, all right, I'm actually going to say goodbye. So, good night, Facebook. And again, if you like what you've seen, hit the like button, YouTube, share away. This was a great conversation. It's not over with. Jay Smalley, you're the man. Dude, you started it. All right, guys, have a good
Good
night.
night. Good night.
Thank
See you later.
Right.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.